Sportscast, May 27th, 2020. The first show after Memorial Day. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Periscope, and iTunes. And if you're in iTunes, which I'm sure you are, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. And visit us on thesportscast.net. Thesportscast.net. We update the website frequently with the latest sports news. Sometimes we break stories before ESPN does. Today's sponsor is Insta Bible app. Crave versus Pitchers. You can get the Insta Bible app on the iOS App Store. Get it today, just for $1. The NHL has popped out some news of when their season will reconvene. NBA and Major League Baseball are still in the talking points with their respective player unions. And to talk to us a little bit about it, and a man that knows a little bit more about Memorial Day, how summer feels up in the north, Ryan Christa, welcome back to the Sportscast.
Santiago, it's good to be here. Good to talk about sports. It looks like we might have sports, maybe not in the near future, but sometime in the not so far away. But
yeah, it feels like
we're getting closer.
Yeah, it feels like the time is closing in. Like, there has to be something done. I know the NHL has started, but the NBA, and also baseball of all sports should have had something going already. But it feels like baseball is still. I guess there's a lot of complexities here with them.
There is. Yeah, we'll start off with Major League Baseball and where they stand. Last week, Well, let's go back to March. When this all started, and it looked obviously to postpone the rest of the spring training and the start of the regular season. The owners and players came to an agreement, saying that the players will take a prorated salary, meaning basically they take their whole salary and then they divide it by the games they put, by the games that they play. So they play, with a split pose, in an 80-game season, they'll get paid half their salary. So then comes the next week, as the owners say, no, we want to change it up because, obviously that was, I think when they did that, they were hoping, revenues would be different and maybe fans would be in the stadium. But, the summer of 2020 will be, if sports will be played, it'll be played in empty stadiums and arenas. They propose, we want you to take a lower pay cut, even lower than 50% of your salary. The players say, no. So then yesterday, Major League Baseball owners proposed another salary plan where they said, we'll take a higher percentage of the salary off of the higher salary. So basically, your superstars, your Mike Trouts, your Bryce Harpers, they would take a huge chunk, while your low level, major league player wouldn't lose much. So it's basically, it's a public relations battle. Basically, the owners are trying to make, these top players look bad. If they say no to this, then they're saying, "Oh, you guys are making millions and millions of dollars, and while everybody else in the world is fighting for survival." And that's just where baseball is. Unfortunately, we'll talk about the NBA and NHL, where they have a very good relation between the players and the league. They're always in a constant communication and they work good together. Where the Major League Baseball, for years, that's one thing with baseball is the union never loses in baseball. That's why there's no salary cap. That's why, your guaranteed salary. If you sign a contract for so much, whether you play or not, you're going to get that money. So, the owners, seem to lose every negotiation for many years. And if there's no baseball this summer, it is going to be a huge nightmare. And baseball may take years to come back from this, just because it just would look terrible. There's, until we officially see something in, basketball and hockey, this is an awesome opportunity for baseball to have a big spotlight. So, they got, everybody talks about this being the most important week in baseball, Major League Baseball history, in a sense, because if they can't get a deal done, and if we're talking next Tuesday, if there's no deal done, there's most likely going to be no season, because you're looking at a month of spring training. If you want to play 80 games, you got to start in the beginning of July. So yeah, so unfortunately, the sport you would think have the easiest way to get back into it. Players who haven't made a single dollar yet this year would be more eager. It's kind of frustrating, for fans to see this because you ultimately have billionaires fighting with millionaires, during a pandemic, which is not a good look.
We're seeing the complexities of these player unions, or we're seeing their true colors shine. We've always heard about this and that, Major League Baseball's player union, NBA, and NHL, but you just bring up a book. Hey, very good point. Feels like MLB, it's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, you go back to every strike, the players always have won,
Interesting, isn't it? Now, what if the NFL was in this position? What if the NFL was in this position right now as Major League Baseball? Do you think it would be as complex as baseball?
No, because the NFL players always give in the end, Santiago. The NFL players did not want to play a 17 football game. All you saw on social media, all these marquee players say, vote no, vote no, vote no. What happened? They had a vote. The players vote. They all said, majority said yes. The players always end up giving in to the owners and the league. But they don't have a great relationship, but it's better than the baseball players and the owners and Major League Baseball have between each other, where they just can't get together. This is just we're not even talking about that. We haven't got to the house list. We haven't got to what they're going to do to make us safe, which they should have been doing first before we even get to this. So this is an important week. They've got to get together. Tony Clark's the head of the union, and Rob Manfred, the head of Major League Baseball, got to get in the room together and work this deal out.
Now, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to be in one location, for example, in Arizona, or do you think eventually they'll play in empty stadiums?
They kind of got a framework of something. What they wanted to, last thing you heard was dividing into divisions of 10 people. Not basically. I think it was throughout the American League and National League, and you'll take regional efforts and you'll play in empty home stadiums, where you're limited amount of travel, but you're going to be able to play in the stadiums because it's instead of I think there's a lot of issues with playing in Arizona or Florida. They kind of like this idea of playing in their own baseball stadiums. So that's kind of what they have a framework. They're probably if they can get a pay structure down. I think it'll move very quickly because I think they're almost at the point of the NHL. But the NHL's got a framework of what they're going to do. I'm not quite sure if money's an issue. Now they got to work out the logistics of testing and all that. And they should find when it's safe to meet. Baseball. Basically all the most of the even tougher states have basically said they want them to keep playing. They want them. Cuomo says, bring on the Yankees, bring on the Mets. They want these games to be played. Because they know it would just give some sort of relief to people in these states. As there's still a lot of restrictions, at least they can have their teams back. Ultimately, I think when people are going against the wall, backs against the wall, this kind of week, a deal will get done. Who wins? I don't know. I think that's going to be the ultimate issue.
Something to definitely look at. Just like what Ryan said, we'll find out more by hopefully by the end of the week or by next Tuesday. But what is going to happen by the end of the week is the NBA, who I believe they technically agree with Disney. The format will be revealed by the end of the week, according to Wojnarowski from ESPN. Ryan, would you like to see a full 30-team tournament, or do you want to cut it down and leave the teams that are not that who don't have a chance to make the playoffs?
You don't need the Knicks. You don't need the Warriors. You don't need the Hornets, Santiago. I think you played 67 games. You know enough that those teams aren't very good. they weren't going to make a run at the playoffs. Now, what did hockey do? They introduced 12 teams, more 4 more in each conference than they traditionally would. I think the NBA, it looks like looking at a 20 to 24 team tournament, or it's been introduced. Santiago, kind of close to us, is we're big soccer guys. Almost like a World Cup or a Champions group stage where
group format. Yeah, whoever is, I think the top 2 makes it to the next round or something, or the winner of that group will go to the finals.
I think they had this idea of 4 groups of 5, so you would play 8 games, 2 against each of the other teams in the in your group, and then you end up with 8 teams, and then you would have just a playoff based on that. It's a different format, I think.
Very soccer format.
They had like 18 games left in the regular season, Santiago. And you got teams 3 or 4 games away from the playoffs, and who had a legitimate shot,
Is it me, or does basketball really parallel with soccer a lot?
It does. It has some international feel to it, especially globally. I think that's where you got some of their similarities, and basically, it's just you want to limit the amount of people going down there, and why are you going to bring these teams who have no shot,
the
who
Knicks,
had a terrible
especially
season, they're not going to want to gear up. They don't want to go to training camp. Work, it could be kind of a mockery of the game. But there is a financial responsibility NBA does. These teams do have to their local regional markets. That they have to play a certain amount of games. Like the Knicks have to play a certain amount of games on the MSG Sports Network, or they owe money back.
There is TV contracts involved.
And talk about that. Kind of the money guy, the NBA, or the owners, is, that these teams have all 30 teams have a responsibility to the local TV contracts, which all of them do, to show their games that, aren't on ESPN or ABC or TNT, to play so many on, these networks, or they owe money. So that's, I think, where Mark Cuban's come from, that they should have, even if they're not, quote unquote, in the playoffs, they have to have some sort of games between each other. I don't think that's going to work out, because you even heard Damian Lillard, who is from the Blazers, who are currently tied for 9th place. Whoever in the regular season had a legitimate shot of making the playoffs, basically said, if there's a format where they're not, they play quote unquote regular season games, and there's not enough games that they would make the playoffs, and it's not worth him playing. Him going, because there's ultimately a risk of playing, when you get groups of people together, and they're going to have to go through training camp, and there's risk of injury, I kind of just like the idea, even if it's a traditional format of 20 teams, 10 teams from each conference, I think that's where you can't bring any more than that.
Something to definitely look at. And what Ryan was referencing, Damian Lillard said this week, he will not be interested to go into Orlando if his team does not make the playoffs. He said, if we come back and they're just like, we're adding a few games to finish the regular season, and they're throwing us out there for meaningless games, and we don't have a true opportunity to get into the playoffs, I'm going to be with my team because I am part of the team. But I'm not going to be participating. I'm telling you that right now, and you can put that in there. Lillard told Yahoo Sports, which Ryan reads, on Tuesday morning via phone. Portland, the Blazers are 29 and 37.
I don't think he's just talking for himself. I think he's the voice of a lot of team, players, who just don't want to take the risk. They don't want to, the risk of going down there, the risk of injury, it's just too much. They just want to kind of get ready, refocus for the, following year. It's, an interesting, when you talk about the NHL in a minute, NBA is going, one location, or the NHL has basically, divided East and West up to 2 cities, that's what kind of leads me to believe that they might do this World Cup format or or and mix up the conferences, not just East and West, because you're bringing all the teams to one central location where you're not based on geography anymore. This kind of gives me an idea that might be a indication of what they're leaning towards. But basically, what I've read even from this morning is there's a lot of smoke out there about what they're going to do. No one knows what they're going to do. The insiders, have said, that, owners have their ideas, players have their ideas, and basically they got to come to the board, Like you said, they basically decided on the location. Now they just got to decide on the format and, the time schedule that they're going to put together. Because they're kind of in the beginning phase where most teams are doing voluntary workouts. Now, I don't know if every facility is open, but I think most of them are. Even, for players that come in, to shoot by themselves or with a coach. That's the next phase is that, they probably be able to get 5 or 6 players and playing together. And then next would be, more of a training camp for the team. So, yeah, they basically having, ultimately, if they play, they're making the effort. They're getting together, they're talking, and honestly, it's kind of refreshing to see, everybody working together. In NHL's case, you had players and owners and GMs all, on calls together working out this format. As opposed to baseball where all you hear is bickering between each other. That's why they're able to get a framework of a deal done so quickly moving forward. Same with basketball, Do the players want to play? Yes. But, they're, the trust they have with Adam Silver and the league, that's ultimately the difference, and why they're moving forward, and they trust that the NBA is going to look out for their best interests, and not just trying to make a dollar.
Something to definitely look out. Of course, you can follow us on the Sportscast 1 or on the sportscast.net for the latest NBA developments. Looking forward to it, seeing Disney. NHL. On Tuesday, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman announced what the league's return to play will look like, confirming that a 2014 playoff would take place. Once the league has been given the go-ahead from the health and government authorities, 24 of the 31 teams will resume play. The top 12 teams in each conference will be selected based on their points percentage as of March 12th, when the league paused play. The top 4 teams of each conference will claim automatic berths to the first round of the usual 16-team playoffs. They will play interconference round-robin games against the other 3 teams to determine seeding. The remaining 8 teams in each conference will then play in a best-of-5 qualifying round series, with the 4 winners proceeding to the first round of the playoffs. These games will use playoff overtime rules. Ryan, what do you think about this format?
It's definitely different, So basically, in each conference they're taking they're throwing out the divisions. They're throwing, totally different format than the normal NHL playoffs, obviously, because they're they're taking the top 4 point getters from each conference, and they will determine. So obviously, let's just right now the Boston Bruins have the most points, and the Philadelphia Flyers have the 4th most points. That doesn't mean that when the playoffs officially start that they'll be number 1 and 4. They're going to play round robin games in traditional NHL regular season form, meaning basically if the game is tied, they play a 5-minute overtime. No one scores, and they do a shootout. But then you got to go for the rest of the 8 teams that are in what they call the qualifying round. They will have a best out of 5. So let's just say in Eastern Conference, the Pittsburgh Penguins are the 5th seed, the Montreal Canadiens are the 12th seed. They'll play, best out of 5, and then, they win. The Penguins will be the 5th seed. The Penguins win, they'll be the 5th seed. And then they would be playing whoever was the lowest point getter from the round robin of the top 4 seeds and what they would call the first round of the playoffs. And they'll do that again on the other side. So basically, unlike the NBA, the NHL is going to 2 host cities, what they call hub cities. And, there's 10 cities, 5 that would be the West, 5 are
Just like March Madness.
Yeah, kind of. But, I mean, right now, basically, Gary Bettman's idea is he's got 5 cities for each Eastern Conference, 5 cities for Western Conference. And it'll only be one city, but he's basically going to announce as we get closer, based on COVID, facts and, the availability of testing is which of the 5 in each conference, will host. And I guarantee you, barring a miracle, that it will be Las Vegas in the Western Conference. That's kind of known fact right now. So
they're the best teams right now.
Conference,
Vegas.
Well, it's nothing to do with fans because remember, it's just kind of a central location. I think the players are probably like it. Obviously, the NBA has voted against going to Las Vegas, so they'll kind of be the show in town. Not saying no one can go to the games, but they have and they have the hotel and infrastructure to handle all these players.
That's correct. Orlando and Vegas are the top 2 when it comes to hospitality.
Yeah. So, Eastern Conference, it could be Columbus, it could be Pittsburgh. I don't know what.
Let's go Pittsburgh.
The NHL's got some logistical battles too. That they got to figure out. 17% of their players are not in North America right now. So with limited travel, internationally, you got to figure out a way to get these guys.
Wow.
Hopefully in the next couple of weeks back to North America. Because most likely being in these foreign countries, once they come back to North America, they're going to have to spend 2 weeks in isolation, before they're able to see their teammates. But, there seems like they got a good framework of testing down. Basically, Bettman said by, July when they want to start playing that, he's been told, by health officials that testing will be very much available to, the quantity of the testing they need will be easily accessible. The testing players either every day or every other day. So, as long as there's not a major outbreak, on one team or in the league in general, that they should be successful in finishing, this playoff. Here's what, I think I told you a couple of weeks ago that I had some major, qualms about the NBA and NHL starting because now you start in July, which is good, especially if baseball doesn't start, you got all eyes on you, but then you've got something looming, back in September, up in September when you're probably going to be finishing is that you've got NFL and college football, who, all expect to have a full season, especially NFL. So you've got, you may dominate, but then how many people are going, especially in NHL, who ranks definitely below NBA and NFL, how many people are going to be watching Stanley Cup when it's going head-to-head with the NFL? So the NHL's got some,
something
hurdles, some logistics to worry about, but, and especially sponsorship, and viewership for TV. So, that's kind of, and then obviously then when you're going to do your draft and when you're planning on starting the next season. So those are the questions I think that got to be ironed out, both in the NBA and NHL, because, again, you're going to finish your season probably no earlier than, right now in September. So, when I think the NBA has kind of decided, whether they play or not, they're not going to start their season before December or January, because I think, hopefully by the start of 2021 that we'll be able to at least definitely have, some sort of fans in the stand. And I think that's ultimately, when the NBA goes back to its arenas, they want fans in the stands.
Something to definitely look at. Of course, you can follow us on thesportscast.net for the latest on NHL news. As we figured this thing out in this podcast, that NHL is the least complicated and Major League Baseball is the most complicated, but NBA is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and then you got the NFL, which is acting as if there's no pandemic in the world going on right now. So
it does feel like that. It does. I mean, business as usual. To be honest, why would they push back the NFL draft? There's no reason to push it back.
No, yeah, I had some issues, with having a draft when it was. I think, but I didn't realize how good it was going to end up being. How different it was, and I think different was good. It gave us, a perspective into the family, each of the, players' families, and that everybody, we're all in this together. That everything's being affected. But with the NFL is basically says, we're full steam ahead. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting because you look at the major NFL players in the sense of owners. They are wealthy business owners. Strong Trump supporters, right? Santiago, you got your Stephen Ross, you got
Yeah,
Bob
he
Kraft,
even said today there will be a season,
Powers.
but we don't know if there's gonna be fans or not.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Ross. I mean, basically said the other day he doesn't know why they want to be fans in the stands. It's a bold assessment. I think there will be. Obviously not full capacity, nowhere near full capacity, but I don't see why, as long as things keep in the trajectory it is across the country, why there couldn't be fans. But that's here nor there, and those are questions that could be answered later on. But it's just an interesting take at every league on, the situation, and how they're handling it. It's just basically, NFL is, I bet, only thing they're missing right now is, organized team activities, also known as OTAs, but they go on this time of year. But, I think all eyes, that training camps will be held, late July, early August in most NFL cities, So I think that's positive news in that regard going forward.
Well, the ship is approaching the dock. Anything else before we head into poll questions?
It's just, it's just been I think, as the country moves forward, so does, sports has become closer, and, you're down in Florida where, maybe life is getting closer to normal, where I'm up here in the Northeast where
It's not so much.
We're going at a snail's pace back to normalcy, but, we're moving forward. Hopefully soon enough we'll be able to get a haircut. I'm looking pretty shaggy there, Santiago, but
hey, take the opportunity to see how your hair looks long.
Yeah, so but even as tough as Cuomo has been on the state in general, he's basically said we need sports, we need the teams to play, absolutely in front of no fans, but we need the teams, and that's a good sign for sports, fans. It's time for everybody to get together, especially in baseball, get a deal done. Basketball, we'll see, like I said, hopefully by the end of the week, by at least this time next week, we'll have an idea of what the format's going to be, and then hopefully a timetable. Again, I don't see any games happening before mid-July in either NBA or NHL, but hopefully we're getting closer there.
Something to definitely look at, and of course, we'll definitely give you updates. Hopefully something in June, but it feels like things are heading towards July as
I think you're gonna
the month.
Let's think what we can get in June, and that might be just, PGA golf, Santiago. But
yeah,
this fall is shaping up to be quite the fall, Santiago. If you're having the NBA Finals, NHL Stanley Cup, majors and golf and tennis, I mean, everybody's gonna have to. Sports fans are gonna have to invest in multiple TVs. I think.
It should be a quite interesting fall, but hopefully things will come in full circle for all sports. Poll questions on our Twitter. First one is, what is your favorite type of paper airplane? The basic dart, the sea glider, or the stable?
Probably the dart.
The basic dart is at 30%, but the basic is winning at 46%, sea glider at 23%, and the stable's getting 0.
All right.
And then lastly, who's your favorite redhead? World Redhead Day was yesterday. Shaun White, Carrot Top, Andy Dalton, or Lexi Lawless?
Well, good choices there. I'm going to go, well, since we talked a little bit of soccer, how about Alexei Lawless?
Alexi Lalas. The poll has it Sean White at 46%, Carrot Top at 28%, and Andy Dalton and Alexi Lalas is tied at 12%.
Oh, yeah. Maybe the new face of the Dallas Cowboys, Andy Dalton.
Are you serious or are you being sarcastic?
No. It's going to be Dak Prescott. It's just, Andy Dalton came in knowing he'll be the backup, and he'll, he's going to take this year, hopefully, have his opportunities here and there to show he can still play, and then he's looking for probably one more chance of being a starter, next year.
It's quite interesting because I think Dak is going to have one heck of a season. He's going to play for that starting role because Andy Dalton's still in his prime, maybe at worst at the end of his prime.
Yeah, he was given a short table there in Cincinnati the last couple of years, lack of talent, injuries, poor management. The guy took a franchise that was dormant. It was got him to the playoffs every year. Unfortunately, never won a game, but was very. He was just consistent. He never wowed you. He doesn't have a big arm. He's not super athletic. He's just a good guy you want leading your team.
Well, the boat has reached the dock. The guy is putting the anchor down. Ryan, what is the best way to reach you online?
Probably on Twitter, the Mad Dog Report.
Mad Dog Report, and of course you can follow us on thesportscast.net, thesportscast.net, or on Twitter at thesportscast1. If you didn't know, this past weekend, an interesting sports event happened called The Match, starring Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, and Peyton Manning. It drew 5.8 million viewers. I watched the whole thing almost. I never watched a whole golf thing, but it was pretty exciting. What were your thoughts?
I didn't catch it live. I taped it, watched a little bit here and there. It definitely was interesting. I think because you have obviously the two most famous golfers.
The top two ever.
Generation, but maybe the last generation. And then two of the most famous NFL athletes. I think we're just starving for live sports. People watch anything, their names were recognizable, so it was an easy ratings draw. I think most golf fans would say it was probably poor exhibition of golf at times, but that's all right. I think it was just something to take our minds off of what's going on and raise some money.
This I can tell you, Tom Brady is not the greatest golf player in the NFL. But he did have one good play. I think he shot a putt and made it in the hole. But he was not as good. Peyton Manning was actually much better. But there is plans for the match 3 that could potentially have Michael Jordan in it.
Yeah, he might be the greatest non-golf, best non-golf golfer. Him and I think a guy like Tony Romo. I think he's
That's
a great
right.
golfer. So is Steph Curry is a great golfer.
Yes, yeah. Oh, forgot about that. Steph Curry is also in the works as well to join Michael for this. For the match 3.
He actually played in some minor league golf events last summer. Steph Curry.
It's interesting. What if Michael Jordan went to golf instead of baseball during that 2-year break?
He probably would have been more successful.
He would have stayed longer, I bet.
Yeah, it's just interesting because you don't really expect Michael Jordan to sell anything athletically because he's got such a unique drive and for excellence. But even with that, he struggled mightily at baseball. I don't think he deserved to be playing Double-A baseball, but that was that was the highest level they could give him, I think.
According to The Last Dance, his manager said if he would have kept going, he would have made it to the Major League Baseball. So
I don't know.
You have doubts.
I have doubts.
Well,
I think he's a good athlete, but same as I guess I've seen Tim Tebow play a couple of times live, and he's a good he's a good ambassador, but I don't know if he's AAA ready. Definitely not Major League ready.
Something to definitely look at in the next couple of months. Hopefully, the match 3 will come back, but the regular golf tournaments will be in place in the fall. Anyways, the anchor is already anchored down. Me and Ryan are heading out of the boat and going out to pay some bills. Ryan, thanks for coming on to the Sportscast.
Santiago. It was good to be talk sports and talk. Hopefully the sports landscape for the short term is being ironed out, and we can watch some sports. It's going to be different, but life in general is going to be different, so we just got to get used to it.
Hopefully soon we'll see some sports scores. Anyways, Ryan, have a great Wednesday afternoon.
You too, Santiago. God bless everybody.